like I see a lot of these guys, and every time, almost every course that I looked at was like, these guys aren't making any money. Eventually it came down to, I just realized that some of these guys, and a lot of them, I'd say a majority of them, are just straight out lying. And so I wanted to kind of change this whole industry. I'm sitting here frustrated. Why are these guys out here, and how are the people giving them money and they're not even showing their P&L? Like, how does that even factor in? Like, I don't understand it. So I decided, I'll start showing my P&L and maybe change the industry to where everybody has to show their P&L to be credible.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coffeezilla, another episode of Sunday Special where I talk about whatever I want. Today we're talking to Carl Dahm, the owner, the operator, the channel manager, the creator, the writer for Real P&L, because real traders show their P&L. Carl, thanks for coming on. Thank you for being a part of this and informing us about these fake traders.
I appreciate you having me, and this is a big honor for me to be on your show, for sure.
When did you start getting interested in the gurus? Because now when you go to Real P&L, a lot of it is like, reviewing course sellers, especially specifically option traders courses, and calling them out if they're scamming people or they don't really have the stuff to back it up. When did you get into that?
Yeah, so it's been a few years. So maybe I can go back about 15 years to kind of.
That's fine. Just start thinking about who the biggest scam is, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And people want to know who the biggest option scammer is, Raging Bull. We're going to get into all of it, guys.
15 years ago, I had my business degree. I owned real estate. When I was 19, I always tried to figure out the most economical way to make money. And that was always my goal from the start. So stocks or options or whatever weren't necessarily the thing. I was in real estate. I owned a laundromat. I had my broker's license for real estate in California. 15 years ago, I had some money saved. And all this time, up to that point, I really wasn't trading successfully. I was trading online, but I was losing money. But I wasn't satisfied with what was going on. So I looked at other opportunities like franchises or, just other businesses, but they all had that drawback of time. They took a lot of time. So I really liked the online thing. So I was really drawn to the online trading thing, but I hadn't been successful at that point. In fact, in 2008, I had blown up my account for the 6th time. That was the last time I blew up my account, by the way.
Tell people what blowing up your account is.
I had $60,000. Now I have $8,000, right? I mean, it's game over, right? In fact, in 2008, talking about game over, I had $60,000 in the account. I got a phone call from I think it was Think or Swim at the time. They told me I owed them $120,000. So not only did I lose 60, I was down 120. So I've been there. That one ended up where I just had to write a check for $12,000. So I lost my 60 plus 12, but it did set me back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of experience when it comes to trading options, right? What not to do.
Right.
But I kept learning. I kept focusing. I really got serious in 2011. Up until that point, I was just really hard-headed. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. I didn't want to listen to anybody else. I didn't read any books. I didn't take any courses. I didn't do anything. But in 2011, I started getting a little more serious about that. And I started looking at other potential people that I could learn from. And I started looking at courses. I started reading books. And in 2014, I found this website called Tasty Trade. And I think anybody that trades options, they probably have heard of them. And the good thing about them is their business model allows them to show you everything. They're not hiding anything. And so I learned a lot from them. And there's a lot to learn from them. And really a lot of the stuff out there is just rehashed from Tasty Trade. But at that point, I also made a friend. His name was John Pope online. And he said, hey, I want to look at some of these guys online, some of these courses, and you know a lot about options. Can you help me out? Let's take a look at a few of them. So at that point, I started looking even more deeper into these guys that were trading options. So I don't know how many courses I looked at in 20, 30. And,
that's a lot of courses.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of them. And he found, he was looking at a few of them too. And in 2017, I came across a really good course. And I learned the next level. You have your tasty trade level, then you got that next level stuff. And when I learned that next level stuff, that was the point where I kind of figured it out. I kind of turned the corner and, started making real money, good money. At this point, I understand how to trade really well. And I'm looking at all these gurus that I see online, and I'm like, these guys aren't really real. Like, what's going on here? Like, I see a lot of these guys, and every time, almost every course that I looked at was like, these guys aren't making any money. So, I asked myself, what's the most efficient way to evaluate these guys? Because I'm just evaluating these guys and I'm like, what's going on here?
You can't tell what's real, what's fake, who's making money, who's not.
Well, it's not necessarily I can't tell who's real, what's fake. I can tell they're fake. So why are they in business? It's like, that's the question I'm asking myself.
Sure.
And how can I get to the bottom line with these guys? For other people, I mean, I'm okay, but like, I'm just kind of like, why are these guys in business? So then I kind of narrowed it all the way down to, I need to see their P&L. Like, if I can see their P&L, then you can see whether they're real or not.
Profit and loss statement,
like a real profit and loss statement on their account. I believe they say they make all this money. Well, where is the proof of all that, So I realized that was the best way to figure out if an instructor was credible, was showing a P&L. So I went onto YouTube. I started asking in the comment sections of these guys saying, hey, can you show me your P&L? I wasn't being, I was being
Sure.
cool about it. I wasn't being like, you don't know what you're doing. Show me your P&L. You come on, I'll prove it. I wasn't like that. I was like, hey, can you show, for me, it's helpful if I can see your P&L. That would kind of help me out to prove that you're credible.
And how many people on average would show?
I say I probably asked like, I don't know, 35. I would say one.
Oh my God.
Maybe two. I mean, like, none of them. I mean, their accountant said that they couldn't show it. Legal reasons they couldn't show it.
That's all bogus. I mean,
various excuses.
Yeah, if they're actually making money, they'll just show you their profit loss statement.
Exactly. I mean, eventually came down to, I just realized that some of these guys, and a lot of them, I'd say a majority of them, are just straight out lying. They're just lying.
Of course.
I mean,
yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of change this whole industry. I'm sitting here frustrated. Why are these guys out here, and how are the people giving them money and they're not even showing their P&L? Like, how does that even factor in? Like, I don't understand it. So I decided, no, I'll start showing my P&L just to kind of, hey, I'll be the guy to show my P&L and maybe change the industry to where everybody has to show their P&L to be credible. So I showed my P&L for a while, and nobody watched my channel. So I thought, how about if I take the course and I do a review and I show the results of taking the course, and then people might be interested in my channel, and then I can kind of get the point across, or kind of show everybody, hey, this is what's important.
So you're taking the course and you're actually, what are you doing, their trading strategies? How are you evaluating their course?
Yes. So I'm taking the course and they have like an alert service, right? So they'll say, buy this option today, today we're going to buy this spread or this option. And then, and they might give out 2-3 alerts a week, maybe 5 alerts a week, just depends on who it is. So I take a $25,000 fake money account, because there's no way I'm going to put real money, and I put their trades in my account. And at the end of the day, I'll do a little video and say, okay, so today they said that I wanted to put, XYZ long, whatever. And so at the end of the week, I'll do a little preview and say, okay, well, here's how I did for the week.
Yep.
I'm supposed to be making 1% a day. What's that? 5%? I should be up about 5% this week, and I'm down 7. That kind of stuff. I mean, One guy went for 5 weeks. I went for 5 weeks, followed every one of his trades, and I was down 36%.
Oh my God.
Okay. That's not the end of it. He put out he put out
Who is this? Who is this?
I,
Who is this guy?
I can't. I don't know. There's some names I don't want to get on, but sometimes I can say things. Sometimes I'm a little bit, I want to hold back a little.
Legally bound. I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing about this is he had an advertisement that came out that said during the same time frame that I took his course that he made $1.7 million. I lost 36%. He made $1.7 million.
Doing the exact same trades.
Same trade, same time frame. So I mean, well, unless he did different trades, so you're going to tell me to do a.
So the guy's
trade?
the guy is straight up lying, scamming, whatever you want to call it.
What else are you going to
defrauding people? And that's the sad thing is people chase these guys because they go, man, if this guy can make 1.36 million, I can make that.
Yeah. Hey, it's easy.
It's easy. It's that easy. Right? Yeah. So it is very interesting. But my question is, do you think there's any way to fake a P&L? How would you fake a P&L? I mean, could you Photoshop it? My question is if somebody shows their profit loss statement, does that mean without a doubt these people are real?
No. A lot of times they'll show their P&L. Maybe they show it at the end of the year. Maybe they show their P&L. Maybe they do show it. Okay. But what I do is also when I show my P&L, I show my daily balance of my account. So you can see what has happened every single day. So I do it at the end of the month. Now, people might show their P&L at the end of the month, but if you don't see what happened, what happened with their account over that time period, they could have been down. They could have been down 60 or 80% and got lucky and got this big turnaround thing and just, got lucky that month. I like to use the analogy of, let's say that you have 128 monkeys flipping coins, right? And every time they flip heads, they stay in. So you flip and there's 64, you flip, there's 32, you flip, there's 16, you flip, there's 8, flip again, there's 4 monkeys left. Does that make those 4 monkeys an expert on flipping heads? Are you going to pay those monkeys to flip heads?
No, they got lucky.
Okay, so sometimes, statistically, there's guys out there that get lucky and they show their P&L. But they need to show their P&L over time of what happened with the account over time also.
Right.
Because if
you're down the history,
you're down 60%, if you're down 50%, let's say you start with $100,000 and you're down 50%. What kind of returns do you need to get back? You don't need 50% returns to get back. You need 100% returns to get back to even.
Sure.
So a 50% drawdown in your account is like a major drawdown. It's like a major loss that you have to recover from. Now, these guys, sometimes they get lucky. They have a major loss and then they recover and then they show their P&L. But a lot of times I see these guys showing their P&L, or what they do is they show trades, individual trades, winning trades. I call it the shiny penny syndrome. It's like, say you have a jar of pennies and you just find the one that's shiny and you pull it out and you show that one off. And then you go in there and find another one. Well, there's 2 pennies that you pulled out out of 20 or out of 10. What happened with those other 10 trades? All I see is the winning trades. I don't see any losing. I don't see any P&L. I don't see anything significant, but these winning trades. So one guy on his channel had, over the last maybe 2 months, he had maybe 8 winning trades or 10 winning trades. Like he had one on the 1st, one on the 7th, one on the 15th. I was like, okay, cool. So I went into the comment section and said, hey, what happened on the 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, Oh, he says he didn't trade those days.
Okay. He only trades the days he wins.
Well, he only
Impressive.
Wins.
Yeah, he only wins and he only trades the days he wins.
Some other guy,
hypothetically,
he trades low float stocks. And he gets in, but he's on a time delay. So he might be 5-10 seconds behind before all of his followers realize, oh, I need to go long this stock. And so you got 20,000 people or 5,000 people or whatever the number is getting long that stock. Well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go up. And he's already in it. And then he gets out. And then 10, 15, 20 seconds later, everybody else learns it's time to get out. So This is
So
the kind of thing that I see.
you're saying this hypothetical person is like, it looks like front running trades, which is actually a way to be very profitable as a trader. If you have an army of
Yes.
loyal followers and you front run trades, yeah, it's very, very easy to be profitable.
Yes, and I believe this hypothetical person I'm talking about has that particular skill. So yeah.
Interesting. I just wanted to know what you thought. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, obviously we can talk about Raging Bull as well. They just had these accusations come out. That's massive for the community. I think a lot of people of the traders are looking at that like, maybe I should cover my ass a little bit. Maybe it's been a little loose. These regulators, they don't do anything for like a while. And so people get lax and then they come with the hammer and nobody wants to be the guy to get squashed.
Yeah. So I think one of the things you were talking about earlier, or I know that you're going to bring up, is who do I think is the worst one, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of think there's either people that are kind of good and then there's people that are bad. So there's people that are, when I say they're bad, I really mean they're psychopaths. They lie in order to get away with things, and they feel better if they get away with it than they do by showing empathy. And I think that there's people that are on that side, and they're all pretty much equal, except how far are they willing to go? How much do they think they can get away with?
Right.
So I think the guys at Raging Bull thought they could get away with a lot more than some of these other guys, some of these other up and comers that are on their way to trying to get away with more. So that's kind of the way I look at it. As far as, who's the worst? Well, they're all really bad. And it's just who's willing to push it, the furthest. And I think those guys over at Raging Bull, they were pushing it the hardest. And they were
pushing really hard. Did you hear at one point, Jordan Belfort had a little thing going for them, some kind of free newsletter or something like that?
Yeah, I heard he had joined the club over there. Yeah.
I just thought the irony was too rich. You have this guy who literally went to jail early on in his career doing some shady stuff with stocks and all that. And then he gets out, says, I've changed, whatever. Oh, by the way, hey, come learn about stocks with me. Like, how does nobody think that's hilarious? Like, that's crazy. That's insanity.
To me, it seemed like Jordan Belfort almost turned his reputation around. Like, he seemed like, maybe he kind of flipped the script a little. He's trying to help people and all that. And then as soon as he got in bed with Raging Bull, I was like, why did he do that? It seemed like he was kind of turning his reputation around, and then he just put it all back. It's
weird. I mean, he's going to say like, well, I didn't sell, but we all know that what the effect of going into bed with people like that is more people get in, and we all know where it goes from there. Ricky Gutierrez, what do you think of him? Let's go through it.
Well, Ricky, I haven't taken his course, so
okay.
It's hard for me to say really what Ricky is or doesn't do. Definitely looks like he makes a lot of money, but I think he's very similar to. He said I remember Ricky's one of his videos. He said he could make 1% a day, or that was his goal because it was so easy to do.
Yeah, he's like a conservative 2% or something like that a day. He's like, conservatively, my goal is 2% a day. It's like
2%. And you had the other gentleman on, the smart financial guy. I'm trying to remember his name right now.
Plain Bagel or Patrick Boyle?
Patrick Boyle. And he did the calculations on the 2% a day. And that was like, I don't know, 3 years from now, you own everything in the world. I mean, come on.
Of course.
I mean, I had a 2% a day. Here's a 2% a day, guys. So they have an account worth $100,000. And they make a trade for $500. They spend $500 on the stock, and they sell it for $520. So they made 2% on their $500. But when you see their advertisement, you're thinking they're making 2% on $100,000 every single day. When the truth is, they're making 2% on whatever trade they did that day, which is $20. That's how they kind of do that one. That's one I found, but of course that I took.
Well, you also said there's this technique, which I thought was fascinating. I never thought about this, where a guru will take both sides of a trade. They'll take, they think it's going to, they'll go long on one side, go short on another account, and then they'll show you the gain from the side that's right. In actual fact, they make no money and maybe lose a bit on the spread, but then actually they're showing you that they made all this money this day because you can place like a big bet knowing that you can't really lose hardly anything.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll set up two accounts. They'll put, they're making a lot of money from their courses. So they might put $100,000 in one account, $100,000 in the other account, go long on one, go short on the other, and they show their shiny penny. But see, where is the P&L on the total portfolio? I want to see the whole portfolio, because you can't do that when you're showing your daily P&L and maybe you show it at the end of the month. You can't play both sides of the trade. So that's the reason why they don't want to show their whole P&L. I had another guy who was one of those four monkeys that flipped heads.
Just super lucky.
Yeah, got lucky. So he does show his P&L. So he's okay. So he does show his P&L, but this is how he did it. He's got this. He's constantly showing how he's a great trader, and he won the world's trading championship, which I tried to get into, but I don't know how you get in. Like, there's no way to get into it.
Who is this guy? Who is
doesn't even exist. His name is Chuck Hughes. He's on CNBC and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I show my P&L." So I'm like, "What? Shows his P&L?" Oh, he showed his tax returns from 1987.
Oh my God. Okay.
And this is 2017, and he's out here saying, "Oh yeah, I make all kinds of money and I'm really good and I show my P&L, I show my tax returns." Well, if he made money in 2014 or 2010 or 2008, do you think he'd show those tax returns also? Or just the from 1987?
Of course he would. Of course he'd show it.
If these guys were making money, wouldn't they show their P&L?
I mean, yes.
There's this one lady that says she turned $2,000 into $2 million in 2 years. And she did
What a coincidence that they're such nice numbers. They're marketer numbers.
That's why it was easy for me to remember, right?
Yeah, 222.
So she's on her webinar with her cohort or her co-host, and the co-host says, "Oh yes, and I've seen her true results. I've seen her statements." Well, I took her course and I said, "Hey, can I see those statements?" Of course, they're not available. Now, if you turn 2,000 into 2 million in 2 years,
you'd want to show everybody.
Would your statements be available?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Come on. Yeah,
Michael, I think that is true. Also, like when you look at Tim Sykes, he's always touting like, "I turned my $50,000 into $1 million or whatever."
12,000 into 5 million.
There you go. There you go. And it was back in like 1999 or something. It was like a long time ago. He still cites that as like, "Oh, that's who I am." It's like, have you done anything since? What are you doing? He's like, "No, I'm an educator. I have
my $1 million trading students." That's what he has now.
Yeah. Well, it's just very interesting that like, he's always like, "Yeah, I can't trade for more than that." How coincidental that he just makes just enough money to be able to teach you how to get rich, but not more than that to make it worth his time to continue doing.
Well, when you trade low float stocks, what happens? You can't get up into the millions, right? Maybe that's.
Oh yeah, sorry. He's making so much money on penny stocks. Speaking of, I've heard of this guy that is claiming to be real. I don't know if you're going to take a look at him in the future. You heard of Stephen Ducks? Heard of this guy?
I have heard of Stephen Ducks. Now I believe he's a student of Timothy Sykes.
No, I don't think that's correct. I think Timothy claimed him as a student.
Oh.
I think Stephen Ducks is like, he's like doesn't want to be affiliated with, that's a video I would definitely like to see. If you want to look into, because he says, this is like one of these guys who says, "Look, I release my, I think he releases all his account statements or something. Even like Emmett from tradingschools.org, we talked about him. He thinks Stephen is real. So I'm interested. I'd love for someone to like kind of do a forensic on his
And I would love to do that, but this guy's crazy. He wants like $5,000 to just walk in the room. And I'm like, $5,000, you know, I gotta save up for that. I mean, come on, man. So
you should send him a message. I bet we can find a way to get you some kind of access or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I could
maybe after this video, he'll give you a thing, because he seems to say, "Oh, I'm real. I'm a real trader," and that's the problem, right? Is like, surely some people are real traders, and as you said, there are guys out there with real strategies. The problem is separating the 99.99999% of people from the 0.0001%. And then also, aside from that problem, which is already hard enough, the question is, are these strategies reproducible? And why? And how?
That is really the key when you talk about Stephen Ducks. From what I've heard from my inside information that I have, you know, I have friends in the industry. That's the problem with his system, is it's not duplicatable by his students. Now, maybe he makes money, but it's not a duplicatable thing. I don't know if he makes money. I just heard that it's not a duplicatable thing. That's one of the issues with Ducks.
Well, it is the problem, right? With like any kind of skill anyways, is that, you know, you could have Michael Jordan teach you basketball. You're not going to shoot a ball like Michael Jordan. Like, it's like the classic thing. And so the thing that I tell people is, learn your basics for free. Get your feet wet. Go really get your hands dirty with something before you decide you're going to spend $2,000, $1,000, $500 on anything. Because the truth is, nobody can hold your hand through that first effort bit anyway. Anything you're going to excel at, you need to just put a certain amount of time in. My biggest problem is all these industries are preying on beginners. They say, we're going to teach you the basics of Forex. Like, that's going to do anything for you, right?
And that's exactly what these, like you said earlier, that's what these guys hide behind, because they know more about options than you do as the new guy. So you're in this learning phase. You could technically learn from a lot of these guys, even though they're not making money, but you could learn from them. But the thing is, they're just rehashing things that are already out there.
Well known to everybody.
I have a list of questions that I ask every course that I take. And one of them is, do you have a proprietary trading system? Because if you don't, why am I spending any money on it? Because I can go to Tasty Trade. I'm not saying Tasty Trade, the way they trade, is the best way. I wouldn't trade like them. But if you want to learn how to trade options for free, go there. I mean, that's the solution right there. And then once you start getting above, once you understand what they're doing and you're ready to kind of understand that some of their stuff they're doing isn't working, but you're at that level, then these other guys that are selling courses and things, they can't dupe you with anything, because they don't know any more than what you can learn on Tasty Trade. I hate to promote Tasty Trade so much, but if you want to learn for free, they have a great business model that allows you to learn for free.
Yeah. And there are people like that in every industry. I know Forex, they have babypips.com, I believe is the name of the website, where it's the same thing. It's free, bunch of educational things. Investopedia has great articles. There's a bunch of ways to dip your toes into all of this stuff. Now, let's talk about actual strategies, proprietary strategies, and testing, because all these guys are going to say, look, I'm making millions. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But there's very easy ways you could test a lot of these strategies using historical data and kind of hold them up to the test. Can you talk about that?
Well, first of all, if they're trading a system that is not something that you can back test, then it's probably a subjective system. In other words, they kind of change it as they go. And if you're going to change the system as you go, if you change the system as you go, that's not really a reliable system that's repeatable. So you can eliminate some people from that point of view. Like, if you follow this guy's trades because he feels like you should go long here and then short here, and then next week he wants to go short on the same stock, and he's kind of going back and forth, and he's really just kind of being subjective about it, that's not something that you can repeat. It's not a repeatable thing, and you can't back test that kind of thing. Technically it is proprietary, but it doesn't mean the guy makes money, right? Just because he picks a stock to go long or every other week, it's a proprietary thing because it's like whatever's in the guy's head, right?
Sure.
But it's not. That's where you definitely need to see P&L. But when you get to the back testing part, you need something that's black and white with black and white rules, because if you have that, then you can take it back. I like to go through the last 10 years typically.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I see a system, I have one. I took one course where the company or the guru or whatever you want to call it, the instructor,
Yep.
had a portfolio, a standing portfolio at that moment. So as I came into the course, this is what they had done over the last 30 or 40 days, right? It's there, right?
Right.
These are the trades that hadn't been closed out yet, right? So what I did is I picked up that portfolio, right? And I duplicated it back in February of 2020. And I ran that same portfolio through as if there was a crash. And it was down 68%.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys are killing it. They're making money right now. But what about when the market crashes? What's going to happen? So you have to take all that into account. So that's why you want to you want to take these systems that these guys are saying, if you can take the rules and back test them. In other words, you take them through real data as if you were trading that system over the last 10 years.
In 2016, 2008 through like different.
Because you had the May
markets,
the May 2010 flash crash, you had the August 24th, 2015 crash, you had the February 5th crash, you had the March 2020 crash. Most options trading systems don't survive those crashes if they're selling premium. If you're buying premium, that's different. Those are low probability trades. You really don't want to go there with that. That's not what you want to do. You want to sell premium. That's where the edge is in options. But people that sell premium, they don't take into account these markets that come up, these crashes that come up. And when the market crashes, you get a margin call. And when you get a margin call, that means you got to exit your position at the worst possible moment. And you're going to take a 50% haircut, 80% haircut, whatever it is. You're going to take a big haircut.
Yep.
And these guys are trading as if the market's never going to crash ever again. Like that with March 2020, that'll never happen again. We'll just go.
That's the issue, is that I feel like our education around finance, especially online, is so bad that people think that if this guy's making money today, well, that's fine. I'm making 20% today, I'm fine. Actually, the funny thing about it is that as you make money, losing percentages becomes worse and worse and worse. Like taking a 50% cut from once you've built up your account after all these gains is way worse than taking a 50% cut early on. Anyway, I find it very interesting that we live in this world where people don't envision the crashes that come up again and again and again. Nobody thinks they're going to happen.
Yeah, and I also have a thing that I always show, which is the cost of drawdowns, right? If you have a drawdown, I don't have the thing in front of me, but if you draw down 10%, you need to make 11% to get back to even. No big deal. But if you draw down, 50%, you got to make 100% to get back to even. You draw down 70%, you got to make 200% to get back to even.
Yeah, let's explain that to people real quick. So let's say you have an account of $1,000. You draw down 50%, you're at $500 now. How do you get back to $1,000? You don't have to make 50% of your money, because if you make back 50% of your money, you're only at $750. So you have to make 100% of your money back to get where you started at $1,000, which is very kind of counterintuitive when you first hear it.
It is, and that's the key to being successful trading, is to have low drawdowns. There are going to be drawdowns. Everybody's going to have drawdowns, but you got to keep those low, and that way you can survive, and it's easy. Warren Buffett's rules, his 2 rules of management. Number 1 rule is don't lose money, and his number 2 rule is refer to rule number 1.
Yeah, well, yeah, and a lot of people have beaten Warren Buffett over 2 years, 3 years, but that's why he wins in the long game. In front, he's so revered, is because he remembers rule number 1 and he remembers rule number 2.
Yeah.
And that's that is really the key to a lot of trading, is to take the lot, investing, I guess, in his case. But traders have to think about this too. Traders have to think about these losses, because you can do well, but from blowing up your account 6 times, is brutal.
Don't remind me.
Sorry. I mean,
So yeah, I was going to something else about that. Yeah. So the guys that beat Warren Buffett, they're one of those four monkeys that flipped heads. What's going to happen next year? Are you going to beat him again next year? I mean, 20%, that's a big number. That's the other thing. These high expectations, these guys saying you're going to double your money in 90 days. You're going to make
crazy. It's crazy. It's become totally unrealistic. The market is so crazy right now. What people expect is lunacy. They go, why would I invest in the S&P? Look at the low returns, just baby returns. It's like, those are good. Most people don't beat those.
So you have this. So that's one of the things I've noticed about YouTube is over the last 3 or 4 years or whatever the time frame is that I've been kind of looking at, is that guys used to say, I just made $5,000 in one day. And then the next guy says, you know what? I made $8,000. And the next guy says, you know what? I made $22,000.
Oh, yeah.
Now you've got guys saying they made $350,000 in one day. Like, it's just outrageous, the claims that they're making.
Well, they would say, I just need the views. They're clickbaiting. They say, I'm clickbaiting, man. Just get over it. I'm clickbaiting, whatever. It's like, no, but you're also saying you made this much money. It's not, I mean, how much do you think it is? I really think it's partly because we live in this culture of short attention spans. We want it now. And the barrier to entry, everyone's a Robinhood trader now. Everyone has access to advanced financial tools, but without the financial education to use those tools appropriately. I mean, I see guys they're telling people to go get, 10x margin, go leverage yourself 100x. It's like, what? That never, I mean, normally you wouldn't be an investor with access to that kind of leverage. Well, this is kind of a new thing.
If you trade stocks, you kind of have that 50% margin, or, maybe you're going to lay down $10,000 on a trade and you're kind of risking $10,000 at that point. With options, you can sell premium, and you can say, let's say that you sell premium and they hold $5,000 in your account, right? They're holding a certain amount of money for that trade. It's as if you bought something, right? They hold a certain amount. But the difference with options is that margin can expand. In other words, it was 5,000, but now it's 25,000.
And where's the money? Pay up.
25,000. So that's the problem with options, and people need to kind of realize that part, and that usually happens when there's a crash market too, and there's just no way out.
Yeah, and the margin, and you get margin called, meaning that you have to pay up because they're afraid you're going to not be able to pay. So then they basically force you to blow up your own account, right? That's
because you actually owe them money, because the guy on the other side of your trade is owed more money than what you have in your account.
Right.
And so they're like, wait a minute, us as a broker, we're going to be on the hook. We can't have this. We're going to shut this guy down right now. And hopefully he doesn't have to write us a check. I mean, that's
right. And maybe you could have held on, but if the margin call is high enough, you just have to do it. You get screwed right then and there.
Maybe you could have held on. A lot of times you could have held on and came back, but the broker is not going to front you for that.
Right.
They're not going to take that chance with you. Right. So they're going to tell you, you need to wire funds into your account. You've got 24 hours. You got 48 hours to put $10,000 into your account, for example, or we're closing out your position. We're going to charge you. You owe us $5,000. You got margin called. You lost everything in your account. Plus you owe us money.
Do you think it's smart that everybody just has access to all these financial instruments? I mean, do you think there should be some kind of a literacy test before you go and you give people these kind of more sophisticated tools?
Well, one of the most sophisticated tools is called portfolio margin. And that's when you can really, really leverage up really high. And for TD Ameritrade, you have to pass a test to get that. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But there's other areas. I don't think with the interactive brokers, I don't think you have to pass a test. So you're in a situation where your margin can just expand on you and you don't know, you don't understand it. It's possible, but I would rather keep it open to people to do whatever they want than to put restrictions. I don't like restrictions.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you want to blow up your account 6 times, go ahead, but at least you learn something.
Hopefully you learned something. I just wonder. Yeah, I saw some crypto YouTubers. They were recommending 100x leverage in Bitcoin. And it's like, I can't even
That's
fathom
just a
that.
disaster waiting to happen, because you have to pick the correct direction, right? You have to be directionally correct, right? You have to, I believe that Bitcoin's going higher, right? And if it goes lower, you're done. Or you believe it's going lower, and if it goes higher, you're done. Like, picking a direction for me is another thing that I have. For me personally, I have a different view than a lot of people. I don't believe that people can really pick a direction in a market short term and manage money around that and make money. Now, a lot of people out there say,
You're saying no, the speculative traders.
yeah, or the guys that use technical analysis with a chart and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe they can really do that kind of stuff. Now, I've seen a couple people do it, but I really think they're just coin flippers. What
So
are you going to,
you're much more like a Burton Malkiel guy, like efficient
absolutely.
market.
That's actually my favorite book.
Yep.
What is
Random Walk Down Wall Street.
Yeah, Random Walk Down Wall Street. Yeah.
Mine too. Yeah.
That's an awesome book. And
So-
basically, the price of the stock, you don't know if it's going to go up or down, because all the information, everything's kind of priced in already. So what makes you think you know more than the next guy?
Well, so that's the interesting thing, is that some people are such diehard fans of the chart, and they swear by it. There've even been legendary traders who've used the chart. But I was just reading just today about this. What's the book? This guy follows a bunch of traders around. He interviews them, and then
market wizards.
Yeah, market wizards. And some of those guys, they use the chart. I mean, so I agree with you. I think most of it's just
there might be a few of them out
nonsense.
There might be a few of them out there. I know, and I have, I'm a part of that mastermind group, and I know that certain people believe that they can do that kind of stuff, and they believe other people are doing it. They might be out there. It's definitely not duplicatable. It's definitely not going to be some course that you're going to take and you're going to be able to, trade like that guy.
Right, because a lot of it is kind of like subjective. Like, they're like, oh, I'm jumping in here because of the trend line and the moving average and the Fibonacci sequence. But if you ask them that same trade the next day, they might feel differently about it, because you can endlessly rationalize, oh, that's not, a consolidation. That's breaking through the support. No, of course. Oh, I think it's going to do this. I think it's going to do that. Because I've asked people, like, why not just make a trading bot to do the trades?
Exactly. I mean, if you have you've got to have the black and white rules. And if you don't, you're being subjective. And if you're being subjective, it's not duplicatable. And I don't think, not only is it not duplicatable for other people, I don't even think the guy who invented it could duplicate it if he doesn't have black and white rules set up for it.
Yeah, it's tough. That's really tough for me. I don't really understand. I wish more studies were commissioned on retail trader performance. One thing that I really get frustrated by is academics and finance have not done a great job of capturing day trading, retail trader, forex trader performance. There's two great studies from Japan and Brazil, and I always cite those, but people go, oh, that's Japan and Brazil. What does that have to do with the US? And
everything.
Well, of course, of course I believe that, but like, I really wish some of these, academics and finance would just do bigger and bigger studies to just finally convince everybody. Like, I don't know what it's going to, I don't know. Maybe no one will ever be convinced. Maybe everyone will think they're always the exception because they're just trying to get rich quick. But I wish there were just more hard data on this. I think the more hard data, the clearer the picture is going to become.
But who's going to finance that study? Because these the brokers aren't going to.
It's a huge conflict of interest. It is. Oh, it's a massive conflict of interest, because they want you to, they're like a casino who wants you to believe, oh yeah, you can win. Oh yeah, play more at the tables. We want you to play, because if you believe you're the guy who can, day trade, your brokerage fees through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if you're a guy betting in the S&P or some broad-based index, hey, it's the worst thing to ever happen to brokerages. Because where are their fees? Where are their commissions? How can they pay for all their money? Because they can't justify a huge fee anymore.
Yeah. And so they're not going to go ahead and finance that study. That's for sure. So it's not coming out of there. you know. One of the things I have a list of questions that I always ask, and interesting that I always ask. One of the things I always ask is, "What is your edge?" Right? I get into a course, I get behind the paywall, I get an interview or I write an email. What's your edge? And these guys don't even know. They don't have an answer. Like, how are you selling a course and you don't know what your edge is? Like, how does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it makes no sense. I mean, that is you got to measure your alpha. I mean, I'm always telling people this. And so when I ask them like, oh, how much do you make as a trader a year? They go, oh, well, I don't really measure that. I just take some of my profits and I just don't measure it. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, you can't they go, you can't compare me to an investor. Well, why not? Why can't I compare you to an investing performance? Well, I'm like, at the end of the day, you're going to have a return, right? After fees, after it's all been said and done, there has to be some performance metric. Otherwise, it's all pixie dust if we can't measure anything.
Exactly. And that's why I ask for P&L.
It's back to your thing.
P&L. You got to see the daily moves. You've got to see these things or they're just not credible. I mean, it's just the bottom line. I mean, I really like to get the bottom lines all the time. And that's kind of my personality. And that's what I do. I just ask them for P&L.
So who else have you investigated?
So let me look that up. That's a question that
Who are you investigating right? Are there some people you're investigating right now? And what are some of your stories about? Because I like the story of you going in. The guy says he made $1 million. He actually lost 30%. What else do you have for me? I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of horror stories from these classes.
I don't know if you see my video on Jason Bond or not with his weekly windfalls.
Go ahead. I watched part of it. Yeah.
But he says, he says he makes money trading both ways. So when the market goes up, I make money. When it goes down, I make money. And Jeff asked him, well, what happens if the market crashes? And then Jason says, well, funny you would ask that, but I'm protected on both sides. And then I shift over to the video of him showing his results. And he talks about how he got killed, how he started with he was up $250,000 with his trading system, but now he got shot down and he's not doing well and he's losing money. Well, did he ever back test this? I mean,
I thought he made money on both sides of the trade.
Yeah. So how could he lose money during the crash? And why would you sell something if you don't back test it to prove that it works or doesn't work? And then I think before they went under before they got investigated, I think weekly windfalls was even still available, even after he showed I found that video of him showing that he lost. He was up 250. Just think if you would have started that course when he was up 250,000 and he went down like 250, like you would have just got annihilated. So that's,
oh my gosh, man. That's insane to think about.
And let's see some of these other stories of another course I took, they claimed that I could make $1,000 a month and just spending 30 minutes or less per day. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be awesome, right? I get
$1,000 a month with what kind of account size?
Account size, sizing. What?
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that you talk about here?
Yeah.
I never hear anything about sizing. That doesn't even come into
just $1,000 a month. Got it.
So I get behind the paywall. I take the whole course. Not one time did I hear the word 30 minutes a day. Not one time did I hear the word $1,000 a month or the phrase $1,000.
Oh, the old bait and switch.
Bait and switch. I mean, they switched into nothing. Like at least you should. If that's what you're selling, you should at least address that issue in the course, you would think, right? It wasn't even stated. They didn't even talk about it.
They're so lazy, dude. It's such a lazy industry, Carl. That's what I'm finding is that the actual people who do this tend to be really unsavvy investors who got killed in the market and then go, hey, you know where the real money is. They actually realize something profound, which is, you can't you can't do, teach. I mean, it is sort of an old expression, but and they realize the real money's, if you can't trade, the real money is in selling a course. Why not?
It's all about the marketing on the front end. You get to the back end and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And so like before you take the course, you should see the P&L. You should see the P&L. You should see the back tests results. You know, these are the kind of things that I would hope that I could help change the industry. And I would hope that other people would look for the P&L, you know, before they even get into the course. You know, if I could do that, that would be awesome. I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. That's what I've been aiming for about a year and a half now, however long I've had my YouTube channel.
So what about, there is a problem where, I mean, now obviously, as you said, it's great if they show like daily, more regular P&Ls, but what happens when somebody's front running a group and they're making money? Because it's actually kind of trivial to make money when you can sort of control low float stocks. So what in that case, because you could actually create a P&L, it's real, you're really making a ton of money, but you're burning all your subscribers while you do it.
Well, so what you do is you I don't know if you want to make this public or not, but what you do is you put a non-disparagement agreement in your sign up. And therefore, as a student, you cannot talk about what happened behind the paywall.
I've heard about this, actually. Just recently, I heard about this.
And it's just horrible because it's like,
I know.
I took a course. He's making all this money, but I've lost my ass, but I can't tell anybody about it because I signed this agreement. You know.
Wait, so you signed up, but that's kind of, is that even legal? Like, imagine.
I don't know if it's enforceable. I think it's not enforceable, but I haven't been to court. You know, I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
I would say that's probably not, because imagine you went and you bought a product and buying the product made it so you couldn't talk about how bad the product is. Well, that seems like some sort of fraud because then no one could ever find out. I mean, it's like a consumer rights issue. Like, how could you put a non-disparagement agreement into a buy clause so that as soon as they bought it, now they can't ever review the course or review the thing?
Well, I've asked one person in particular that I heard that does this, but I don't really want to name names. And he wouldn't respond to my comments. So I'm assuming they're in there. The non-disparagement agreement's in there, because if it wasn't, I'm sure he would have said, "Oh no, we don't have that." Now,
I've seen it in the purchase clause of a lot of courses. Now you can find ways around that. I mean, you can not pay for the course. Not that I would ever recommend anyone do that. Not that I would ever recommend anyone go pirate a course, but that is one way around it. But that sucks. Yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah. And so, you know, one time I got behind the paywall and this one guy recommended a stock, but he said, take a look at it. You know, I'm looking at this. It's on the radar, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that stock went from $10 to like $30 the next day. So the next day he comes out and says, hey, I just made, you know, $30,000. I'm glad that everybody else was able to capitalize on this trade that I recommended. He didn't recommend the trade, but then he holds a webinar with the people, and he's kind of like saying, hey, this alert was very clear. I said buy the stock, and I look at the alert that he puts up like on the screen, and the alert says buy the stock, but the real alert says, hey, this is on the radar. So he made up an alert as he went along that made it look like he made all that money. Then he got pissed off, acted like, well, I don't know why you people are complaining. If I tell you to do something, you should do it. And this proves that you need to listen to me. And I was just like, oh my God. I don't know what to do with this guy except for make a video.
That's crazy. I'm blown away by the stories you have. And what I love is that you actually get involved in the back paywall or behind the paywall. I mean, that's what I'm starting to try to do. I have a show called Weekly Wednesdays or Webinar Wednesdays where I actually do that as well. Because previously I just evaluated marketing because that's the easiest way to kind of sniff test somebody. But eventually you do kind of want to get behind and see what is this person actually doing. And I will say, I almost expected to be maybe wrong about a few people. If anything, I'm more sure than ever with my first thesis which is that 98, maybe 99% of this industry is just full of garbage, and they are taking profits from desperate people who want to make money fast. In most cases, it's very sad. But I appreciate you coming on the show. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I just want to say I have a certain personality where I'm not going to just use hearsay or maybe anecdotes. I mean, me personally, I have to go behind that paywall, and I got to see what's really going on before I'm going to say anything, because I'm not going to just make anything up. I want to know the facts. I try to be as objective as I possibly can. And so for that, I need to go behind that paywall and be objective. Yep. I don't want to slam somebody that doesn't deserve to get slammed or anything. In fact, I don't want to slam anybody. I just want to tell the truth. I just want the truth to be out there, and you make your own decision based on what my findings were. And that's kind of how I do it, me personally. I just want to be as objective as possible.
Well, I love it. I think your channel is going to do really well, because I think we're in a world that just needs more sort of objectivity around this marketplace. As you said, there's so many incentives to lie, so many incentives to kind of tell half truths. And so, no, I appreciate your channel, guys. The channel is P&L, Real P&L. Look it up. You can also look up Carl Dom, Carl with a K, Dom with 2 M's. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with us.
I appreciate being able to get on your show. It's going to help my channel grow. And this is like a huge honor for me to be on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, love it. Love what you do.
It's going to help to get the word out, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Show your P&L. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.